An NBA insider has projected that multiple Bulls moves are coming, as Arturas Karnisovas has had a very interesting offseason with all this Josh Giddey drama, while also Coby White's future with the Bulls is in serious questioning, and now it's being predicted that multiple trades are incoming for the Bulls, and we're going to discuss all that and break all of it down, and you guys do not want to miss out on any of this. But real quick, if you're part of that 76% that's not subscribed to Bulls Digest, make sure to subscribe for daily Chicago Bulls updates that you do not want to miss out on. All that being said, guys, let's jump into the video. There is a lot to go over on the Chicago Bulls, as there's been a lot of questions surrounding the Bulls offseason and Arturas Karnisovas' plans going forwards. With all that in mind, there has been discussions about a few different players. Obviously, Josh Giddey has been the guy who people more than ever have been talking about. I mean, when it comes down to Josh Giddey, it's been this whole contract situation that there's been a lot of talk could lead to him getting traded off of the team, and it sort of just depends on what the final verdict is going to be. Now, I've said multiple times, I do think the Bulls and Giddey are going to find a common ground, and Giddey's going to sign for a 3 to 4 year contract. Either way, I think there will be an option on that deal so he can hit free agency sooner rather than later once again, so he can sort of really just do this over and try to have an offseason where other teams have money so we can make more, and so the Bulls can also keep around Josh Giddey for at least a little bit more and show him that they want to win, that they want him to be like really one of the key members of this team. I mean, right now, you kind of look at Josh Giddey as the franchise player of this Bulls team. So far, that trade trading Alex Caruso for Josh Giddey has seemed like a success, as long as you can keep Josh Giddey around long-term and turn him into something important. But also then we see a ton about Coby White, who there's been a lot of noise surrounding, and what's going to happen with him. And frankly, right here, as you see, he did get listed as an option for trades when it comes to the middle of the season, something we are going to talk about in a little bit. But just going over everything that has been discussed with both Giddey and White, it was mentioned by HP Basketball, this is outside speculative, but two different East personnel figures believe the Bulls are unlikely to retain both Josh Giddey and Coby White. If Giddey gets locked in, White could be moved, and HP Basketball said, I'm skeptical of that idea because it sounds like a radical concept for the Bulls, and that doesn't sound like them. Saving money sounds like them, but not like this. And you look at Josh Giddey, I mean, to me, he's the guy who's the most important because last year the numbers don't jump out at you, but when you look at how things ended once Zach Lavine was gone, once they kind of started going a bit younger, Josh Giddey turned it up. I mean, thus far on this, or throughout the season, he averaged 14 points per game, 8 rebounds, and 7 assists. On top of that, he shot 46% from the field and 38% from 3, which are a lot better shooting numbers than he's had in the past. Giddey showed a lot of promise as a player, getting better and better, and same thing happened with Coby White, who put up 20 points, 4 rebounds, and 4.5 assists. He shot 45% from the field and 37% from 3. White was an excellent scoring guard and has been a very hyped-up player for this Chicago Bulls team for a while, and now it feels like he's finally really hitting his stride and not being more of an inconsistent shooter that he was to start his career with the Bulls. And it was mentioned by Grant Hughes when it comes down to White being one of those guys listed in the trades that the only argument against the Chicago Bulls shopping Coby White at the deadline is that the franchise almost never does the shrewd, difficult thing. Every other factor points to the 25-year-old guard changing teams. Playing out the last year of his contract, White is in line to make just $12.9 million in 2025-26, and the most Chicago can offer him in an extension is $89 million over 4 years, which is the exact contract they have been predicted to give Josh Giddey. Based on a starting salary with 140% of that $12.9 million figure, that's not nearly enough for White, who could easily fetch $25 to $30 million per season on the open market, making it have all the sense in the world that you would move on from Giddey. And as Hughes said, the Bulls could be the team to offer him that much in unrestricted free agency, but unless White is really keen on winning a maximum of 44 games, why would he ever prioritize re-signing with Chicago when he could aim higher elsewhere? Chicago probably should have dealt White at last year's trade deadline, or even the one before. It was immediately evident that his bargain contract was going to be too small for a realistic extension, and that unrestricted free agency was nearly inevitable. So with that in mind, and also considering the fact that it was mentioned by Jake Fisher that Josh Giddey has managed to attract some external interest from rival teams since free agency began, with multiple Eastern Conference teams contacting Giddey's representation to register sign and trade interest. So both of these guys are now finding their way into a very interesting situation. I mean, you look at White, it feels like a done deal. It feels like Coby White is going to get traded off this team. And it does make some sense to make that move if you're Arturas Karnisovas because, frankly, yeah, you're not going to be able to re-sign him for $89 million. Some team's going to pay him more money. And my fear is that the Bulls decide that there's a world they could figure it out, which is not going to happen. And then they're going to keep him and things are just going to go completely the wrong way. And it's going to suck for everyone involved who's a fan of the Bulls and wants to see Coby White stick around. So with that in mind, the right move for the Bulls is to trade Coby White. And you don't necessarily have to wait till the deadline. Things get easier because those recently signed restrictions are very lightened up because most guys were signed 6 months prior, or over 6 months prior, so it's not something that you really have to worry about too much. However, at the same time, you do have to consider everything. You move White for the best package possible. When you find a team, and I do think it could be at the deadline because you consider everything, you consider what's going on with the team, you consider what's going on with the other teams surrounding them, the Bulls are not going to be better than an 8th seed. It'd be shocking if they are, so you look at White, and you see a team that could desperately use a scoring guard, like, for instance, the Milwaukee Bucks, and then you go talk to them and say, hey, we want X, Y, and Z from you. We want this player. We want, like, and $12.13 million off the top of my head, Bobby Portis comes to mind. Like, just when I'm thinking of literally players on the Milwaukee Bucks, Bobby Portis makes that much money. If you can get Bobby Portis to actually return to the Bulls where he was drafted, and then also add on some draft capital, a first-round pick, like an unprotected first or something like that, something that the Bucks have. I know they're pretty short on assets, so maybe you try to go for an AJ Green and then someone else like Bobby Portis and then the more protected first or some pick swap or something. That'd be a sick trade for the Bulls, and it makes sense for a team like the Bucks to do that because they do need a scoring guard after waiving Damian Lillard off the team. And they're not the only team. They're just the first one that came to mind. There's going to be a bunch of other teams that could use a scoring guard in both the Eastern and Western Conference, and the Bulls should take advantage of that. Something I do expect them to do. Now, with Josh Giddey, it's a little bit different just because the whole situation's different. I mean, you look at Coby White, it's simple. You move this guy because he's probably going to be having an awesome season. White last year put up 24.5 points per game after the All-Star break when he became the lead scorer on this team. When he became the focal point of the offense scoring-wise, in those 26 games, the man put up 24.5 points, 4.5 rebounds, and 4 assists per game. He shot well from the field, shooting 49% from the field and 37% from three, so he did it on good shooting numbers too. Coby White showed he can be a great scorer at the NBA level, and great scorers get paid a lot more than $89 million over 4 years, so the best bet is to try to move White to a team that's like, we want to make a playoff push. We need something to prove. Again, the team that comes to mind the easiest is the Milwaukee Bucks, but they're not going to be the only team on that list. And when you look at Josh Giddey, it was the same thing for him after the All-Star break. He put up 21 points per game, 10 rebounds, nearly 11 rebounds, and 9 assists. He was averaging a near triple-double, shooting 45% from three. The man was unconscious, shooting 50% from the field as well. Josh Giddey proved that he is that guy, and that the Bulls, honestly, you start to just understand that, in a way, you have to get a little bit closer to Josh Giddey's $30 million. You do not want to find him in a situation where he's going to get traded. Giddey's too valuable to get moved after having the best stretch of his NBA career. It doesn't make sense for a Bulls team because he's young, man. Like, he's a very young player. I know he's going into year 5, but he's 23 years old. So when you look at Josh Giddey, it's one of those situations where you pay him. Like, yeah, you don't have to pay him $30 million, but you can pay him around 25, and I think that's a very more than fair deal for Josh Giddey. What do you guys think about it all? Should the Bulls make either one of these guys available in a trade? I think the obvious answer is you make Coby White available. You don't make Josh Giddey available. You move Coby White for the best package possible. Whether that's now, whether that's in 3 months from now in December, whether that's in February at the trade deadline. Let me know in the comments down below. Like this video, subscribe, turn on post notifications. Have a great day. I will catch you on the next one.